What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Nick, Tampa's rise, and it's kind of crazy. Tampa's not won this division, 4 years in a row? Which doesn't feel like it, but I guess they have. But Tampa has basically done exactly what the Saints wanted to do, right? They navigated a transition between eras in which they fixed their cap, they found young talent, they found a bridge quarterback that's actually turned into a bit more. I mean, they're paying him a little over $30 million, and he's top 5 in every category right now. Do you think the Saints are willing to look at themselves in the mirror and be honest about how badly they bungled this and about how they got here, and then be willing to make or to at least try to change? No guarantee of success, but at least be honest with, look, we've been really bad in these areas and we have to get it fixed. Because again, I know we always go back to this maybe too much, but like the Mickey Loomis press conference with the Tom Landry spiel, the fact that he wasn't going to fire Dennis Allen after the 7 games, like so much of it makes me concerned that they aren't willing to engage in that really critical self-reflection.
It's funny because, you know, I've been kind of like looking at it and thinking about it and trying to figure out what went wrong, you know, all this stuff. And to me, like, if you really look at the situation, it's like they signed Derek Carr and then started a rebuild immediately after. It's like, we're going to go get this high price, mid high level quarterback. And then we're going to start a rebuild, and we aren't going to do anything else. We're going to get Derek Carr, and we're not going to get the wide receivers that he needs to succeed. We're not going to invest at tight end. We got a quarterback who's a little bit skittish under pressure. We're not going to invest a ton of money on the offensive line, and we're going to put Derek Carr in here, and we're going to say, elevate everything. And it's kind of like, well, wait a minute. Like, he's not Drew Brees. Like, you can do that with Drew Brees. You can go in and you know, what Sean Payton used to say, we like our room at wide receiver. You can like your room at wide receiver when you have Drew Brees, because he's going to make them look better. Derek Carr needs some help. Like, if you take Mike Evans away from Baker Mayfield, like what's Baker? If you take Justin Jefferson away from Sam Darnold, what's Sam Darnold? You know, I think you got Derek Carr, and then you asked him to be a savior, and he's you know, he's not a savior. He's just not. And I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do this offseason, honestly. I mean, I think a lot of it is going to be driven by the next coach. And I honestly, right now, today, believe that, like, if the coach were to come in here and say, like, I want to get rid of this guy, like, they're going to get rid of him. Like, you know, whoever it is, like the older guy, like, I think they're going to allow the coach to kind of lead the process of you know, how they're going to go about building their roster. And I don't think it's going to be dictated that you have to keep Carr. Like, Carr could end up staying. The next coach could want Carr for a year and, you know, kind of let me establish my culture, and then let's move on from here when it's a little bit easier to part ways with him and then add talent to the roster. Because if you do cut Carr this offseason, because they just redid his contract, I don't even believe they can, like, lower it and kind of manipulate the cap the way they typically do. I think if you cut him, it's just, you got to cut him and take the hit. So
what is the hit? What is the hit? Just to remind us.
Oh man,
like
it's
30,
like
40 general range.
It's like 50 million or something like that. Yeah. Hold on. I got it in the spreadsheet right here.
Of course.
But yeah, no, it's a massive hit. And you kind of got to just take it, and you can do it as a June 1st. Yeah, it's 50.1 million. If you do it June 1st, like, you know, you get some relief after the fact. So, like, if you were to sign players, like, you would kind of just have to put your free agents, like, you know, on hold. Hey, don't sign anywhere, but we're going to give you this money on June 2nd. So you get like 29 million, I think, on June 2nd. But yeah, I mean, it's a massive hit. It becomes very hard to build your roster that way. So that's kind of the only move you're making. But I do think that they are willing to make some of those moves. But if you're asking me, what do I expect them to do? I expect them to probably be most attracted to a like-minded individual at coach. And I think that their mind is that they aren't that far off. And, you know, I think that they'll probably most likely, if you're asking me to predict the path today, I think they'll probably most likely try to add to what they have while continuing this rebuild that they have going on, because like there is a rebuild that's going on. Like you trade Marshawn Lattimore as part of a rebuild. They didn't sign anybody to a 2-year contract. It's all been 1-year deals. Like it is it's a soft rebuild happening right now, and I think that they're going to try to continue to navigate the difference between the two. And I'm so sick of like you have to have better depth, but like I think they're going to look at the injuries and all that and be like, well, if this happened, that happened. Well, it's like, well, Taysom Hill's 34, Alvin's going to be 30, Tyron's a year older, Demeyer's a year older, Cam's a year older. Like, but I do think that they're going to be willing to. I would expect some shedding. Like, I hope there's some shedding. I mean, I don't think you can just keep doing the same exact thing and being like, well, we're going to have a better draft and get strike gold on Nathan Shepard and, Willie Gay. And this is going to be the answer. I don't think you can just keep doing that. And I think there is some realization of that. I hope. I pray.
Yeah, I mean, because for them, like, they're just not going to do it, Nick. They're not going to tear it all the way down like we've seen other franchises do and realize. We were talking about the Lions earlier. Like when Dan came in, like it was bad, but they kind of knew it was going to be bad. And you got to buy into what their culture was. And so they did. And it's authentic from Dan Campbell. And so the team rallied behind him. And now they're one of the best teams in the NFL over the last couple of years. It's just like the Saints are reluctant to do that. They just won't tear it all the way down to the studs.
Oh, they'll never take it all the way down to the studs. I don't think they'll ever do that. The thing is, though, is like they're going to end up at the studs on accident. Like that's kind of what's happening right now.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
We got a couple pieces of drywall
which,
left.
To be fair, that's where the Lions were too, right? Like the Lions didn't say, "Hey, we're starting over." They just sucked forever. And then a guy came in and rebuilt them.
But they did bring in somebody that a lot of people would not have brought in.
Without a doubt.
Because they realized they needed something completely different than what they had.
Yeah.
And I just don't think even the Saints will do that. They're trying to hold on to what they had. Like they're trying to get a piece. And Mickey Loomis talks about somebody he knows very well. It's like they can't just fully give themselves over to something different.
Nick, so yesterday came out that David Shaw was going to be interviewed, but you had a conflicting report. What's the latest on Shaw?
He's not interviewing.
Okay. Out of all the names, and we mentioned them all this morning, do you have a favorite?
Out of the 5 that came out yesterday, like I think the betting odds would definitely favor Aaron Glenn.
Okay.
At that point. I think there's still some options out there though. Like I think Vrabel is going to get an interview here. I doubt he comes here. I think the whole league thinks he's going to New England, and I would be pretty surprised if he didn't. So I would kind of put him there. And then, Ben Johnson, I don't anticipate being an option here. I think Aaron Glenn would probably be the top of that list for me out of those 5. But I think it's going to be between the Jets and here for him. I think those are probably going to be his top 2 options. Now, like the thing that I think could be the wild card is if Dallas opens up, like they end up hiring somebody, McCarthy ends up going on the market. Like, how does that kind of shake up, things everywhere, especially here? I could, if he hits the market, and what is it? It expires today, his contract. Like I would probably expect the Saints to try to interview him. I don't think they'd jump into that until that situation resolves itself, but I would probably assume he's going to be on the list. But I think there's going to probably be a few more interviews that come out today. And, I think they're going to probably interview about 6, 7, 8 people. There's about a list of 12 candidates, kind of start with the top 7, 8 or so, and go from there. They'll probably interview like a college coach somewhere, I would guess, but I don't think they'll hire from the college ranks. So that's kind of my feel for it right now, is that I would probably put Glenn at the top of that list, but I honestly don't get the sense that it's like rigged like it was last time for DA, where
they were going through the motions. They were fulfilling what
you asked me last time. It's DA. It's DA. It's DA. It's DA. Like it never wavered. Like honestly, like I think there's a slight lean towards AG, and like my preference is go get somebody that's like completely not connected to it. But then you kind of look at it and you're like, man, I'm not blown away by any of these candidates, and like he might actually be the best one after you get on the other side of like Vrabel and Ben Johnson.
So it's been a lot of offensive-minded coaches outside of Aaron Glenn, which I'm okay with. If it's going to be a defensive guy, like that's the one guy I would say you go and get. I'm a little surprised, and we talked about it yesterday, that Todd Monken's name hasn't come up a little bit more. I mean, what he's done everywhere he's ever been, he's really taken over some bad situations and made them better. I think you look at even what Georgia's going through right now without Todd Monken, what he's been able to do for Lamar and Derrick Henry in Baltimore. I'm a little bit surprised, since you're bringing in, Nick, so many offensive coaches, that Todd Monken's not one of those coaches.
I think he's probably I wouldn't be surprised if eventually he finds his way on this list.
Okay. I see, Nick. Nick Underhill, neworleans.football. You know who needs to find his way off the list? What are we doing, Matt Nagy? I mean, I don't know. Look, maybe I'm. All I'm saying is, how can you get excited about somebody having success as the OC in Kansas City? Is that not just Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel about it too. It could be wrong, but I just, I see what happened with like Josh McDaniels, Adam Gase. Like it's probably an unfair perception, but like we've seen him as a head coach, and I don't know. I don't need to be the guy to give him his second chance. Like I just don't want to be
right. We've done that.
We watched that.
We've seen that play out.
Like, oh, good.
Well, it's going to be an exciting time nonetheless. If you want to stay up to date with everything, neworleans.football is a great subscription for you. Make sure, again, all the inside info. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.